Can someone from the community go to the YouTube and see?
Norman video live.
Well, let's kick it off and let's not wait any further. So, let's have everyone here on the Intercoin show today. Let's have everyone here on quick look and see who's in the audience. We have okay, so we have our usuals in the audience. Team, it's good to have everyone on. Okay, Edward, I know you haven't been. I know you've been kind of busy with your own stuff, so it's really good to have you back here on the Intercoin show as well. I'm happy to see you in the kind of business. Elena, always here. Thanks for your support. Stacy, thank you. Carter, I hope you feel a lot better from last time. Stacy, Carter, I hope you that's for sure a lot better from last better. Alicia, I know.
Yeah, I'm back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw you were accepted into some kind of program for NFT artists on LinkedIn, so big shout out to that. I saw you were we went to as well. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, Norman.
Thank
you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we have Jenna here as well. Absolutely. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you around a little while. So I think like a nice, kick it off. So I actually wanted to just going around kick it off. I think we can and I think we have I think we can 8, right? So these are the two new faces we have on the show today. These are I'm gonna need someone to bring me up to speed if we have an agenda here. I'm gonna need someone to bring me up to speed on the schedule. Can someone DM it to me in the Telegram chat so I know what the format of this DM it to me this exact
I think the Intercoin's NFT smart contract released and audited. That is a community article that's our Intercoin forum. So if you want to speak about the NFT smart contracts, I know that we said that we were going to discuss that today. Go into the interview with Mel if that works for everybody.
Yeah, sure. And Alicia, were you planning on doing the interview with Mel, or did you have like a list of questions? Yeah. Or are you just playing the interview?
Yeah, I have. I went over it with Mel, so it's just I'm gonna be interviewing her and just asking her a few questions, so I can do that after if you want to, or if Elena has anything, if anybody has anything they want to add. That would be great. But yeah, I have myself and Mel all set up for when that time comes here for the Intercoin show today.
Sure. Okay. So in general, I'll talk a little bit about some of the new projects related to NFTs that we're working on. Some of you probably have seen this if I messaged it to you in the DM and chat, but aside from community currencies, Intercoin is expanding this year also into NFT, which is very exciting news. We're combining the technology from Qbix and the recent NFT smart contracts we've developed and building these out into actual products for people. So, token society is one thing we've been working on for a while now. And this is actually built with both our, I think, NFT smart contracts and a lot of the technology from the Qbix side as well. So if you're an NFT project, right, and you really care about your own branding and you want to be listed on something that's more than OpenSea, right? Because if you're on OpenSea, for example, you are really one project you're really one project competing for attention against all the other projects, right? And so, for example, if you have a listing on OpenSea, okay, if you have a listing on OpenSea, it's just going to be one of many things among like a list of search results, and you may or may not stand out compared to the other projects. But what we can do on our side for the NFT space going forward in in 2022 is we can actually build out your own website as well as have custom built smart contracts for NFTs as well. So that's just like a little introduction for what we're gonna do. I want to give it to Alicia and have you interview, have you go into the interview for Mel, if that works, right?
Yeah, that works great. Mel, are you ready to go?
Hi, Alicia. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have Mel Shepard here. She is currently the CEO of Invisible Lotus Inc., located in Greater Chicago area that provides services and consulting in NFTs and crypto art, which is pretty amazing. She brings her talents from both art and industry, and her work explores the intersecting edge of both the two divergent worlds here. So her technical skills, she's vice president of web hosting and publishing company Solar Flare. Also intertwined with her work as an artist, she's driven by her genuine passion to collaborate, create, innovate through an artistic process. Yet she's also critically necessary ability to synthesize the needs and goals of her team in order to tailor efficient solutions that culminate in project completion. Just wanted to add all of that in there. I know Mel from Twitter. Actually, I met her on there, and she's also a great abstract artist. Who has been in the space. You've been in the space since about March or April.
Yep. It was March of last year, so it's just about 9 months, but it feels like a lifetime, Alicia.
It feels like 5 years, girl. It feels like 5 years. So, Mel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And you just said when you got into NFT, so that was my next question. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can go from there. That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I have a background as an abstract artist. I've been doing that a long time. I've got collections on a number of different marketplaces at this time. Right now, I've mostly been focused on Ethereum, but I'm getting ready to expand into Solana. But at the moment, you can find me on OpenSea, Maker's Place, Foundation. Those are the big ones. Sorry, there was a ding. I didn't know what that was. So what else? So yeah, I'm bringing to this Web 2 background. So I was a web developer, web designer, and managed a web hosting company for about 10 years. And so it's been an awesome transition for me to be able to take the tech and be able to take, my passion of art and to show up 9 months ago on Twitter and realize that there is an opportunity to combine both of those things and to move forward with a new career. So I'm super excited about that, and also very passionate about helping other women become onboarded into the space to take advantage of what NFTs have to offer. And that's really what's driving my desire to consult and work with people in that way. So helping women get into crypto and NFTs. So I love it.
I love that, Mel. We definitely need more women in crypto and NFTs. It's been a bro culture for quite some time, but I see more and more women getting involved. And I know we all try to get even more involved, so that's really awesome. Can you tell us about your collections or your recent drops and some achievements with your NFTs that were recent?
Absolutely. Most recently, I have just completed 2 different metaverse shows. That's been very exciting for me. The most recent one, actually, they were both in Crypto Voxels, but it was 2 different galleries. So the most recent one was in the Box Gallery in Crypto Voxels. And that event combined with a gaming event as well. So it was a lot of fun. There was a 3D metaverse set up with ski slopes and, in-game gaming. So and then the artwork is displayed within the gallery on multiple different rooms, and you can bring participants in. I bring my real life collectors in real life and onboarding them into the metaverse. And that's also like a real blast and a real thrill. And the event before that was done through a gallery called I'm Not Art, and they're located in Chicago. They have a physical gallery in Chicago, which is mirrored with a digital gallery in the metaverse. So they actually show the exact same artwork in both real life and in the metaverse. And in fact, their digital space even is an exact replica of their in real life gallery. So I really love what Omna Art is doing with the combination of physical and digital space, and was really honored to have a slot in their community gallery at the last show.
I absolutely love that. I actually went to the Crypto Voxels event, and there was people skiing all over the place, and I was trying to get used to the gaming feature of it, but I'm not a big gamer, so but it was really cool to be able to go into these digital galleries on there while, you know, there was other people in there, and they, you know, I saw a couple people like doing little dance moves and stuff. It was like really, it was pretty cool, you know, to see that. You know, it's just so many things have changed with, you know, the NFT space and the traditional art world. So what was the first platform that you used, and what was your experience with it?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. So I don't talk about Tezos that much anymore, but Tezos was where it started for me. I don't think it was my first platform. It wasn't my first blockchain, but it was where I did my first NFT swaps. So I actually came to NFTs by reading the news. And I didn't know about Twitter. I didn't know about the NFT community. I just started Googling where could I put my artwork on the blockchain, because I was really excited about it. And I wound up at Rarible. So my first artwork was minted on Rarible last March. But from there, I wound up joining the Tezos community on Hicket Nunk. And that was, they were just still in their inception back then. I was one of the early users of Hicket Nunk and collected my first NFT there. I just saw something that I had to have. And I was like, that's it. I'm an NFT collector. And then next thing you know, I thought, well, if somebody else is doing this, then I want to try it too. So my first sales, or my first crypto swaps, were on Tezos, on the Hicket Nunk marketplace.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's good to know. I actually didn't know that you were on the Tezos and the Rarible. I actually started on OpenSea because I saw something on the Instagram, and I saw Mark Cuban talking about Lazy, and I saw OpenSea, and then I heard the NFT company talking about it, and I got on there about March. I think probably sold the first one in like April or something. I was like, whoa, the first gas fee. I mean, the only good thing about that, I guess, you know, for artists, is that it's a lazy minting feature, you know, so you don't have to pay gas after your first mint. But even the first time, it was like, you know, the gas was like, I think $50 or $40. And now if people try to get on there, forget it. I think somebody was telling me the other day that minting on with Ethereum was like, the fee was like $10,000 the other day, which is unbelievable. I don't know if you heard. Did you hear that on Twitter at all?
I didn't hear that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. I've been watching the gas for about 9 months, maybe not that long, because about 9 months ago it wasn't that big a deal. But I started watching the gas, and I have been, and I watched yesterday all day long, and it just never came down. So I wouldn't be surprised to find that out. And just to add to that, so when I came to Rarible, the first thing they asked was to verify yourself on Twitter. And I thought, well, Twitter, what's over on Twitter? So, and that was when my NFT community, NFT Twitter journey started as well. So I kind of did it backwards. I minted first and then found Twitter, but it doesn't matter. It's all come around in the end.
Yeah, I did the same thing, actually. I didn't know about NFT Twitter. And it's funny you bring that up, because it's a totally different community from like the traditional art world, right? I mean, it's definitely a great community. I absolutely love the NFT community. You know, there's no, everybody's very supportive there. Everybody says GM, GN. So it's a really cool place to be, right now, especially, in the art world. So what's your experience with the NFT community? You've had a pretty good experience there, right?
Absolutely. And what I was thinking while you were speaking is, because you were saying, this is just an art community. I was on Instagram before this and engaged there quite a bit, but never found the same level of connection and community and conversation as I have at NFT Twitter. So it's been a really awesome sense of camaraderie. And in fact, I now see the artists that I knew on Instagram starting to come over to NFT Twitter. And it's a lot of fun to welcome them into the space. And of course, I get questioned by a lot of newcomers to the space, and I'm always like, just start asking questions. Like, I can add you to this group, whatever it is. And I think people, when they first come to the space, they're a little bit surprised at how friendly and how willing people are to share information and advice on how to get started. So I really appreciate that about NFT Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I noticed, traditional art world, sometimes it could be a little snobby. I think anybody can agree with that. And I just don't see that at all in the NFT community. So it's really great to have artists like you and myself, that we're all coming together, and we're coming from, a different place, and now doing, and now I was going to ask you as well, do you do also, you're doing physical pieces, but I know now you've been doing mostly digital, right? But you have done physical.
Yeah. I've been, like I mentioned before, it's like I've been an artist for a really long time. I started doing watercolor works on paper in about 2005. Prior to that, I was a printmaker and a jeweler. So I've multidisciplined. I've studied a lot of different mediums. But so since 2005, I have really been working on paper with water-based mediums, and eventually expanded into graphite and a mixed media approach, combining watercolor, ink, graphites, and pencils and pens on paper. And so I've been working that way for several years, and have several really substantial bodies of work in that medium. And then coming to NFTs, obviously that was where I started. My first mint I mentioned on Rarible was, one of my physical pieces. But coming into the space, coming into NFT Twitter, and I had the same experience when I had first gotten onto Instagram. So it's one of those things when you get into a group or a room with a bunch of different artists and you're all showing your work, like you become inspired and influenced. And for me, it's like asking questions, well, how did they do that? Or, wow, that is so cool. Really want to explore that myself. Or even in NFT Twitter now, it's like I see people and I'm like, wow, they're really pushing their skills, and I need to push my skills a little harder if I'm going to keep up. So since coming to this space, I've definitely expanded into digital. And I think the first thing that happens is you're like, okay, well, I could do 3D. Okay, I could do generative art. Okay, I could do, just straight glitching or digital painting. So like there's all these different mediums or all these different techniques that I hadn't even considered before to try. And so I think the first process is like, okay, what am I going to try? What am I going to learn? What applications, software am I going to buy? And for me, I wound up finding a process of glitching that I really appreciate. So oftentimes starting with a photograph, but now just starting with a blank screen and using a tablet to draw, and then using software to glitch the images. And so, yeah, that does work for me. It's been exciting. It's been exciting to move into digital art because I feel like that's a really good match with NFTs. Not that there isn't a place for physical art. I think there still is a place for physical art, but I'm excited about this being like the edge and being a part of that digital movement.
Yeah, you're just the jack of all trades, that's for sure. I don't do any digital stuff, but I think it's so cool. I like your FemiPunks collection as well. That's what it's called, right? FemiPunks?
FemPunks, Le FemPunks.
Yeah. Those are the that's the glitch ones, right?
Yeah. Actually, the digital cultivars collection is also glitch work, and I have a few collection or a few series that are ready to launch as well that really take my glitch work to the next level. And so I'm in a process of trying to determine like where and how to mint. So there's been a little bit of slowdown on Ethereum for me, especially since like a lot of my collections are on OpenSea as well. And so looking to expand into Solana. And so I've applied to some new marketplaces with that work, and I'm really excited about it. It's like I'm showing now what I'm saying is like my best to date, but to be honest, I have some real fire collections that are waiting to be launched, and just waiting for the right opportunity and the right marketplace.
I can't wait to see them. Yeah. I can't wait to see them. I know you had dropped a few little hints here and there on Twitter, so it's really cool and inspiring to see you doing that. So what important points, I wanted to ask you this, do artists need to consider when they're just entering the space? Where would you point them to? And what are these important things that artists need to consider and pretty much do?
Yeah, I could talk on many different points on this. I think the first thing that I would come back to is just like my first learning experience. Again, like getting onto Rarible, I started my first Ethereum wallet. So just like a basic understanding of wallets. I didn't have anybody guiding me. I didn't have anybody to ask questions to. All the information I got was from Google. and so I wound up going with the Rainbow wallet. And in the end, that was still kind of in beta mode and I couldn't get it to work. It worked on Rarible, but then I couldn't get it to work with OpenSea. So then I had to get a MetaMask. So I would just start by saying, get a MetaMask. That's kind of the standard. Well, it is the standard. A MetaMask wallet for doing your transactions on OpenSea or other Ethereum marketplaces. And recognize that your profile is attached to that wallet. Your profile or your collection, all of your artwork gets attached to that wallet. And then also considering, the security and safety of it. So learning about the ledger wallets and how to secure your assets right off the bat. So like those are some of the things that I think is really important to consider from a technical standpoint, from like an art standpoint, a marketing standpoint. I think the most important things to consider is how you present yourself. What images are you going to use for your profile pic, for your banner? Like, who are you? Are you going to be coming from the real world with an identity that's already existing, or are you going to be creating an anonymous identity and promoting yourself like that? And so get a little bit of traction with, your identity and who you are, but then also like reaching out and talking to people. Don't be afraid to just ask a few questions, because eventually you will find somebody, like me, who will be like, hey, join this group. We're having a conversation, or hey, because when you first start, it's like, well, how much should I price my work? How much is this even worth? Like, there's so many questions, like, should I do an auction or should I do a buy now? So there's just a lot of different questions about how to mint, where to mint, how to promote yourself, all of these things. And if you can get hooked in with a group, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's by joining a Twitter Spaces, whether it's in Discord, whether it's on Telegram, wherever it is, you can hook in with some people and just start asking, one-on-one questions. I think that is the best way to get started.
Oh, that was perfectly said. How have you had any obstacles in the NFT space? I know one of mine, before you answer, one of mine was the auction thing. I remember you just bringing that up. The auction, when you're first minting, do I put it as an auction or do I put it as a, buy it now price? Even though you could still get offers for it for a lower price. In the space. That was one of my big issues back in March, April, when I first got in. What was some of the obstacles in the NFT space that you have had that obviously are now very fixed, but what would you say those are?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually thinking about the auction since you mentioned it. I haven't had a whole lot of luck with like auctions on OpenSea there. So I definitely tried some things that didn't work. So, but just continue to like move forward and try different marketplaces and try different audiences. Trying to think. I mean, I think the biggest obstacle is connecting with collectors and connecting with collectors that want to continue to collect it from you and support you. And I keep records of who has collected my work and who has collected it on secondary. And so I have a really good understanding of who my collectors are. And so now I can reach out to them one-on-one when I'm having an event, like this last event that happened, to be like, hey, come out and enjoy this. I also achieved a better connection with collectors in my audience by showing up on Twitter Spaces. So I think I had a lot of success in that area by showing up on Alexander Lores's show and really connecting with different people and learning different ideas as well, all at the same time. So a lot of cross-pollination. So I think getting out of your track. So like if you're an artist and you just stick in your little group there and just only speak to artists, I don't think you can gain as much as if you cross-pollinate and you get out into different groups. And so, like I said, I'm not a gamer, but I've been on a lot of spaces and a lot of events where gaming is a hot topic. So I've learned about it. Now I hold some gaming tokens and in general, like investing in crypto. So just coming into these different spaces, always being willing to learn and hear what other people are doing, and vice versa. People are going to learn and hear what you're doing. And that's been how I've moved forward, like through that challenge of like building my audience and finding the collectors that support my work.
Absolutely. I could totally agree with the Twitter spaces. That's been in the beginning, some people like myself have issues publicly speaking, but definitely enjoy the Twitter spaces now, definitely more comfortable. It's been great connecting with people. And I think the community, whether it's a collector or, even just somebody that's not even an artist or a collector, it's just cool to connect with these people on Twitter or Instagram, mostly Twitter. And it's just really cool, to be able to do that. And it's everything that you've done, Mel, is extremely inspiring. So I want to congratulate you with all of your success in the past year. It'll be almost a year. So congratulations with everything. And everybody sees it on Twitter. And it's just so cool to see another female artist doing so well and, getting out there and speaking and doing this. So my last question is actually, how have NFTs changed your life in any way, shape, or form?
Wow, that's a really deep question for me. And again, I like multiple answers are coming at the same time. So I would say, first and foremost, it's helped me to respect and value myself as an artist. So to come into a new space and to be able to find an audience, to be able to find collectors, to be able to have sold out collections, that was really empowering to me as an artist. So especially coming from a tech background and transitioning into art full time, it was really inspiring. It was really inspiring for me to achieve that and to see that. I would also say, like, adding to that, like, this is like just a more personal aspect to my story, is that earlier this year I was found disabled and unable to hold employment at anywhere, any job in the United States. So that was in February. And then in March, I found NFTs, and here I am. I work from home. I connect with my buyers. I connect with my audience through the computer. I attend events in the metaverse. So I was homebound long before COVID happened. And so the ability to get out into the metaverse and show my work has been amazing. I was speaking with a vocational rehabilitation specialist just this week, and they were asking some questions like, what is it like? And I said, it's a lot like the traditional art markets. It's a lot of the same steps. I'm looking for shows. I'm talking to, gallery owners. I'm talking to collectors. The difference is I don't have to physically carry my paintings out to a gallery or, to set up a craft booth or anything like that. I don't have to move anything. I don't have to be physically active or capable to participate in the space. And so that has been completely life-changing for me, because as I mentioned, I was homebound before COVID, and this has completely changed my opportunity to be able to participate in the space and participate in this as a career.
Wow, Mel. I already knew a little bit of the backstory, and I have to say, it's amazing what you can accomplish, and the fact that you keep pushing forward and the positivity. I know we all have our days where we, lose a little faith or, get a little, discouraged, but I definitely always appreciate your upbeat and your enthusiasm in the space. And it's really great to have you here on the Intercoin show today. And I'd like to definitely open up the floor if anybody has questions for Mel. And then we can also go into the next subject if anybody would like to do that. So thank you, Mel. Thank you again for coming, and appreciate everything that you're doing.
Absolutely. Before you take any questions, I would just like to say thank you, Alicia, for inviting me. And I heard you mention Twitter Spaces. And I just want to say I'm actually really super excited to do a Twitter Spaces with you. So I can't wait for that to happen. So again, thank you so much, Intercoin, everyone here. I'm happy to answer any questions and can't wait to hear what else you have to share today.
Yes, that sounds awesome.
Mel, it's really incredible to hear your story. It's Elena Rivers here. I am new to know your story. I didn't know any anything before the COVID, what's happened with you. And it's incredible to hear that people, a lot of people struggled during the COVID with the isolation, and a lot of people struggled even after COVID to come back to world as we know it. But not many people learn how to say goodbye to drama in their life and how to support each other with positivity and to get happiness in their life, how they can actually learn with the little steps by step, everyday routine, how to change something in their life and not to be captivated by the limitation of the world, but to grow with unlimitedness of their minds. And I admire what you're saying and how you learn for yourself. It's really incredible, and it's touching my heart very deeply. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much for your openness.
Thank you, Elena.
I also just want to thank Mel for coming. I've been in a lot of spaces with you, but I did not know your whole story. So that's absolutely amazing and inspiring. For me, NFTs is, first of all, I love art. And another thing about NFTs that I love is I find it just brings so many new people into the crypto space that probably would have not entered otherwise. So I love that. I've made connections with so many women in the past year due to NFTs. So I'm super thankful for that. It was a lonely world, as for having a lot of women in the industry until maybe about a year ago. So I just want to thank you and, keep pushing and, I'll support everything you do.
I appreciate that, Stacy. Thank you so much.
For sure.
I would like actually to add also that apart from Telegram community, we have our Intercoin community, and we have our forum where we discuss with our community, where we answer questions, where Alicia write articles as well as Stacy about what is actually on their hearts today and what happened yesterday and what's happening in the community itself, but also our followers of Intercoin coming for the community, and they share their vision. And Mel, you're welcome to share your announcements as well. And we just recently, like Alicia said, we announced that we have NFT Remix, new contracts. And I think it would be nice if you, with your experiences, will come to use Intercoin contracts to explore how you can use your NFT on Polygon with Intercoin contracts and smart contracts released and already audited. Did you get a chance to read the article? Do you know anything about?
I had read an article. I came on your show a couple weeks ago, and I had read about it at that point. So I'm not up to date on what's happened in the last couple weeks. Is it live and ready to use?
Yes, it is. It is live.
And where do you get started?
Well, you will get started on the forum. Just publish your question, and I think our technical team will be happy to come to answer and to allow to go conversation further. Because when one artist asks questions on the forum, the other artist would see and would support this question or would be able to answer as well. And in that way, we would help not only one person, but the whole community of artists, because we have several artists who are already working with Intercoin. Few people actually been on our shows before, and we have now in a community one of our newest head of ambassador program in UK, Trust. She is actually working with a lot of artists as well, and they've been asking digital artists. They've been asking how we can begin to work with Intercoin. So it would be great to connect everyone on the forum and to continue the conversation, because when you begin something in Twitter, it's getting lost in the noise of other conversations. But when you ask the question on the forum, it's visual to everyone, and it will stay in history, and it would be able, people would be able to answer in the long messages more than in the Twitter. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, as for the NFT remix, it will launch in February sometime, but like the smart contract is ready, but the actual launch won't be until February.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
I'll have to chat with you, Alicia, and you can explain exactly what I need to know.
Yeah, and I'll DM you the community forum as well, so that you can like ask any questions there, and then we can like, you know, answer it, or any of the technical side or the art side, we can get that answered for you. So I'll send you the DM to the link for the community forum. That way you're able to do that and know where to go. So that sounds like a plan. I can definitely take care of that for that.
Awesome.
The reason why I would like us to begin these conversations even before launch, because it's only 10 days left, and even developers, it would help them to see what actually the needs of artists, what kind of questions appeared, and what artists needs to know. Because when we create technical documentation, what would be available as well, that would help as well. So, because Intercoin is a community-led project, and if community is not asking questions in a way how we can answer them, how we can help, how we can know what would be the question before the question asked. That's the other point of the forum.
Elena, I love going to the forum, because if I forgot something too, or I want to educate myself on one of the other like articles on the tech side, I'm not on, you know, I'm an artist, so I don't have like the tech side of things as of yet. I'm still learning, but I definitely really appreciate the forum, because I go on there, and if I have like a question, or if I can just look something up, you can type in a few keywords, and it's great because like I just went on there and I typed in, you know, NFT smart, just to see what else comes up. That way I can have that up and ready. So it's really cool, and it's a really great way to like connect and like also get questions answered and stuff. So I'll definitely get that info to you, Mel. And yeah. We have Greg. Hi, Greg.
He might not be able to speak. He's traveling right now, but he may or may not. Something that also is...
Question. Sorry, go ahead. My pods keep disconnecting, unfortunately. I tried to speak earlier, but can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool. No, just a question for Mel. Because obviously, well, first I just want to reiterate what everybody else has said there. Enjoyed listening to you there, and was your story's really inspiring. But yeah, what I was just going to ask you, obviously you got into NFTs, I think you said March this year, which fun enough is the same sort of time I started buying my first NFTs. Now obviously I've been aware of them for a long time, and I've pulled my hands up and say I was in the camp and thought it was going to be a fad, and you know, I seen NFTs as more as like you know, real like assets and property, which is obviously going to come along as well. So basically, what my question is, were you aware of NFTs because they've been growing for a long time, and did you maybe like ignore it or think it was a fad, and then you know you came to and like just basically the same as me, and decided to start getting into it around about that time?
Sorry, I was pushing the wrong button for unmute. So my story of coming to NFTs, so I had done a project in 2018. I was approached by a friend. I had already known about Bitcoin, and this friend started a blockchain development company, and they asked me to build a website. And so that was when I first started to really get my education about what crypto was all about. That eventually led me to working on a pop-up gallery in New York, where there was some other crypto and crypto artists involved, more so investors. And through that, found my way to an investor party. And I had heard about blockchain, putting your art on the blockchain, and like there was like whispers about it, and it was like this big mysterious thing. I didn't know what it was or how to do it. And from there, I had a bout with my illness and just kind of slipped off the radar for a little while. But like in the back of my mind, I definitely had the crypto bug. I definitely was really curious about how to get my artwork on the blockchain, and just didn't really have an answer to that question until I think maybe it was, I don't quite know what happened in February of last year, but it was around the time like Beeple made his first sale and things were hitting the news. And I just thought, wow, if it's in the news, I can figure it out. And so, yeah, I just, started Googling it, started reading about it, and was determined to figure it out. So I think the short answer is I've been an enthusiast for a long time. It just took me a little while to get to the information.
Yeah, I'm the same. You hit the nail on the head there. It's you catch the bug, don't you? Because, like I say, I've been aware of them for a long time. I don't have a lot, but I've probably got about 20 NFTs now on OpenSea for. So as somebody that said a year ago they would never buy any, it was definitely a bug that you catch. But yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the fact that you brought up the Beeple thing, Mel, and that was a huge factor when I had first got into it. I was like, whoa, what was it, like 67 or 69 million? And of course we paint because that's our passion, but I was like, wow, like somebody seriously like sold a collage of pictures. So my other thing that I was going to bring up was the collaboration of NFTs, and what also Intercoin is working on as well, which is the NF tree for the NFT remix. So on one of our recent shows, I don't know if it was in the one that when you were here, but the Intercoin show, our founder Greg brought up an amazing idea relating to the new release of the upcoming NFT remix marketplace. What if we created an NF tree, which would be like a blank canvas that artists can join in on together and collaborate while creating a big masterpiece, which can also have its own web page, kind of like that $1 million page. They did that where it was like $1 per pixel. It sold out. They did a really good thing where they had all of these different pixels on this page, and that's why it was called the $1 million homepage. I think it's $1,000,000homepage.com. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. I think it's a great idea, and I really like the collaboration between artists as well. What did you think about the NF tree idea from Greg?
Yeah, I just love what you described about combining a lot of different pieces into a single collaborative piece. I think the more voices you have, the better in a collaborative project. You can build a really strong, build a really strong foundation and a really strong opportunities for moving your project out and connecting with a lot of different audiences that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so crazy because I know a lot about like traditional art history. I know like Pablo Picasso and Brock. They actually were one of the two biggest collaborators, and that was in the traditional world. And they spent so much time collaborating, and actually eventually invented Cubism, which was a style of painting. So who knows what if you get a bunch of artists together, what we are capable of. So I think the NFT tree would be a great addition with Intercoin. So I really love that idea.
Yeah, I think also what we were talking about before is like the dialogue, right? It's like this idea. So we have the Beeple piece we talked about, the $1 million homepage you talked about, and then this is like an extension of that dialogue. So the NFT tree becomes your response, or the Intercoin community response to what it is experiencing around it. And so for me, that's what really jazzes me, is the artistic dialogue, and how, like you said, how things are born into like a movement. Such as Cubism.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think about, obviously on the NFT mix, having the ability as an artist to then be able to change or edit your artwork after you've actually sold it? Because obviously nobody else is doing anything like that. I just wondered what you thought about, as that as an idea, having the opportunity, or the sort of, what's the word, the availability to, change the piece of art after you've actually sold it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with the collaborations and stuff, so basically what you're saying is like having, an NFT, and then after you sell it, you're able to change it. That's what you're saying, Cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool. What do you think, Mel?
Well, I mean, I think at first, so like, I had a couple thoughts. Like the first one is like, so if I've sold a single piece of artwork to a collector, I think the idea of coming back in to change it might be a little bit weird. But in the concept of doing like a collaborative piece where you're continuing to add to it, like I think that makes total sense. Where you're like, okay, we sold it, and there's only been 50 people that have added their JPEG to this, collage, but there's 100 more spaces, and have that artwork show up over time after you've initially started to swap the NFTs. I think that's really creative and inventive.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you have like sometimes I think it's depends on the situation. I think sometimes it can work, and then there's other reasons that it may not mesh right. But I definitely believe like abstract artists, like if we were to come together, we can definitely, I mean, I just always go back to Picasso and Braque with the cubism, and how they eventually, because they were in the studio collaborating for hours and hours and hours every night, how they invented cubism and how that came about. And it was because like-minded individuals, we just come together as a community, and we get these ideas flowing, and it's just like, you have this one piece that, maybe somebody, says, oh, well, I can add this to it. I guess it depends on the situation, Carts, of who the artist is, what kind of art it is. Is it cubism? Is it a surreal type of, what type of genre is it, basically. So I definitely think that's a great question, though. But I really love the NFT part of it, and I'm looking forward to the NFT remix marketplace. That's going to be really, really cool. So I'm just really looking forward to that. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Actually, I would like to add. Hi, Layla. Welcome on the call. I actually wanted to add that we have Layla already here, who joined us on several other previous talks, and she is also a professional artist with her NFT history. Layla, welcome, and tell us what is your opinion about NFT Remix, and what is your vision on the future to work with Intercoin on it?
Hi, Layla.
Hi, Alicia. Okay, so I put my pronunciation there for everyone. Hi, Elena. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Mel and Greg and Norman and everyone else. So I apologize. I came in late, so because I was on another call. But I think the remix idea is fabulous. It's fabulous. But I had two thoughts actually. I was in a space a couple of days ago where the question was raised, and these were a group of business people and artists, not an IP lawyer. But what they said was, if you take a piece of artwork that has been sold in the real world to a collector, and then you take that, like the JPEG, and try and modify it, right now it's the Wild West, and there's a lot of, it's not clear, but as this space evolves, you're entering into a gray area with IP and sort of patent issues. So they just said, be really, really careful. I think the kind of in terms of right practices, best practices, they said if you go back to that collector and have a conversation with them, preferably document it, and then they might just say, hey, you know what, you sold me the piece of art 5 years ago, and now you want to take that same canvas, if it is a canvas, I'm just using a hypothetical example, and now you want to, you want to take the image and then you want to rework it or use it as an NFT. They just said, get the permission before you rework and remix, because they might come back to you, and the last thing you want to do is just have, some kind of lawsuit or just some messy press thing. So again, I don't know if this was the exact context of what you were saying, because I came in late, so I apologize. But I did want to make an important point, because one of the other things that was raised in that same space was around, an NFT, if the physical was sold and you're trying to separate the physical and digital anyway. But my second question was about
Leila, if I may answer, it's very good point regarding rights, and the actual artist's rights would be in the smart contracts from the beginning. And that's the reason why we would like to achieve this opportunity for artists to have royalties forever. That's the point, that anytime when the collaboration would work, the initial artist always would be remunerated. That would be in the smart contracts, and no one can take it away from it. It's already on a blockchain. And that's the reason why we're so excited about it, because a lot of, artists feel insecure about their work. And that's actually next week meeting, what we're planning to run. We are inviting several professionals in the security space of the blockchain industry and cryptocurrencies. And one of the questions would be, we would discuss exactly about the security of their work, not only their royalties, but all around the security as well. And that's a very good point. And we are aware of the rights and IP rights as well on the technology side. And that's the next week conversation would be around it. And you're welcome to join us.
I have something to add to that, Lila.
Sure. And then I have a second question around that, but go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, not related to, in the traditional art world, basically, for the physical pieces, and I've, consulted with quite a few people, and you probably already know this, but artists, we always own the rights to our own paintings. So no matter what, whether it's trademarked or not, nobody has any licensing rights unless it is written down, physically written on a form, notarized, signed with a lawyer, that they can use your work in any different way. So in the traditional art world, we always own our own rights. Nobody can duplicate it. That's one good thing about in the traditional world. Now, as for what Elena was saying, in the NFT space with crypto and all of that, that's something that I can't really answer, but I do know that even with NFTs, we still, as artists, we still own all rights to our, physicals and of the image, period. That's always, even if somebody collects it, let's say a collector purchases Neowise, one of my paintings, and then they take it and then they want to put it on products or something like that. They cannot do that unless they have written consent from me. I don't know if that answers maybe part of your question.
Yeah, no, that answers part of it. So the question that, and this is a good conversation. We're going off on a bit of a tangent, but it's really important. So the question that came up was, this guy raised it, and then, I kind of jumped in. So he said that, he's been producing art for like 25 years. And one of his pieces that he sold like 10 years ago, right? This is way before any of this stuff, NFTs, blockchain. So it was a physical piece of art that he sold. And so he asked the people in the room if he could go ahead and then mint either, multiple copies, like an edition of 10, or maybe just modify the JPEG of what he sold, right? And mint that as an NFT today. So, and I think that's what the discussion was around. They were like, listen, when you sold the painting, this wasn't around, or even if you sold it a year ago, and now you have the image, who owns the rights? So yes, I think technically the artist owns the IP rights, but someone else still has that physical painting, right? In this case, the artist has been selling work in galleries. So I guess that was the question, and he wanted to know if he could. I think if he changed it, the consensus of the room was if he changed the image and somehow went onto Photoshop and did some stuff, and it was materially changed, that was different. But what the speakers then said was, they're like, listen, if you're selling it for 1 or 2 ETH, there's probably not an issue. But if this was a very established artist, and they said if his work, the new work subsequently gets, say it's now $200,000, and he sold the original canvas like for $5,000, that's when they said potentially they should be super careful, because that can come back to haunt you, right? They can then say, oh, this was my piece of art. So I just was wondering if Elena and Greg had a thought on that. But even if you don't change it, like, who owns the right to the JPEG? Then can you say, I want to now sell this JPEG for like $500?
I think next week would be a good show
You're
for that.
talking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my second question was, how do you guys physically plan on doing the remix? Is it, so would you physically move the canvas around for different artists to paint? Or do you, how does that, the mechanics of that work, the collaboration? So that was my second question.
That question would be, it's better to ask when Greg is around, and when the final beats already finalized, the technical parts,
Right.
because it's not finalized yet. That's would be a good question for you to ask on the forum for developers to answer as well, and
So
for
like,
other for other artists to ask their questions around it.
yeah, because the Picasso and Brock example that Alicia used was, they were all in Paris at the time, right? And they were hanging out in Montmartre, and they were all in one another's studios. So even if COVID were to be lifted and we're, back in the real world, I mean, we're all in different locations. Alicia's in Arizona, Mel is somewhere else. I'm just saying hypothetically, do you then move? It's just something to think about. Like, how does this remixing translate into sort of the nuts and bolts of actually doing it? That was it, but we can wait on that. So thanks, guys.
I think a simple way to answer that is currently an NFT only does so much. And with a remix, what Greg has planned is be able to do more with it, to be able to edit it, change it. I don't want to say too much because the plans could change, but that's kind of like the easiest answer I can think of. Just maybe like an NFT 2.0 instead of just an NFT that just currently doesn't do anything.
I think so as well. We need to get Greg to confirm this, but I think the buyer may have the option to kind of leave that option open. So if they don't want, then it might not be possible for the artist to do that. But again, you need to get Greg to confirm that, because it was something I did speak to a couple of my friends about who are quite big into NFTs, And I can see, Mel's point earlier, if somebody's bought a piece of art and then to then go and then change that afterwards. But what one of my friends, he said most of his NFTs are characters. And he says if it was an artist that he was, like an artist that he was really into, for want of a better word, then he would love the option to, like, he thinks it'd be great to go on and to look at his NFT and notice that it's changed my smile to a frown or something. He thought it was like a really cool idea. So I know that's obviously something that can be done. But yeah, I need to get Greg to confirm, obviously, whether you can block that possibility when you make the purchase.
Yes, one of the main ideas for NFT Remix is to help brands to release NFTs and to collaborate with artists when they don't work directly together, or they don't employ the artists. For example, like schools or animation studios, fashion designers, and so on. And it can help, for example, like Disney license its characters, but at the same moment, animated shorts by students in animation schools, for example. And one of the ideas what we had with art schools in India, with India Blockchain Alliance, that our ambassadors in India would help students to work with the NFTs, and they can, for example, help movie studios to license the likeliness of the actor or character and to create fashion for them or design different outfits for a particular movie, for example. That would help. NFT Remix will create the platform for this kind of collaborations. And also it can be used, for example, as a contest on a way of raising publicity for future movie, for example, like what would be your ideal outfit for movie star? It's just one of the examples. What we've been brainstorming as well. Or like Times Square billboards, Layla, like your work was already on a Times Square, but other artists